Angel Reese called herself the reason people watch women's basketball. So why did every single network just give Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever all 44 games on national TV, while Reese's Atlanta Dream only got 28? What's worse is they still play in a gym that can only hold 3,500 people, while the Indiana Fever easily sells out 17,000 seats per home game. And when Reese found out, she didn't take it well and is reportedly furious. What she said during her tantrum will shock you. But the numbers don't lie, and the advertisers don't care about her feelings. Stay right here because the full story is a lot messier than Angel Reese entering the Atlanta Dream locker room. Let me know down in the comments below if you think Reese is delusional.
History has already been made. Before a game has been played, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever cementing their status as must-see TV. The cash cow, the money maker, the golden goose, the golden ticket, the savior of women's basketball. Yeah.
No WNBA team has ever had every single regular season game on national television. Not one in the entire history of the league. The Indiana Fever just did it, and the 2026 season hasn't even started yet. Every one of their 44 games lands on a major broadcast partner. ABC, ESPN, NBC, Peacock, CBS, Paramount Plus, USA Network, Prime Video, ION, NBA TV. That's not one network picking up a few marquee games or a streaming service grabbing the leftovers nobody else wanted. That's 10 different partners all fighting over pieces of the same team's schedule, which has genuinely never happened before in this league. When you've got that many companies writing checks for the same product, it tells you something very direct about what that product is worth right now.
Do you know who recognizes that Caitlin Clark is the face, the end-all, be-all for this league? All of these television networks. You know why? All 44 of Caitlin Clark's games will be on national television this season. All 44, not 40, not 41, not 40, all 44 will be on national TV because the GOAT is the face. She's not a needle mover, she is the needle.
And the reason isn't hard to figure out. Networks pay for eyeballs, full stop, and Caitlin Clark coming back from an injury-shortened 2025 season meant every single one of those partners ran the same calculation. A healthy Clark running Indiana's offense is the safest bet available in women's basketball. She already proved what she does to ratings before she got hurt, so every network knew exactly what they were buying when they put in for Fever games.
Breaking TV records again. All 44 games on national TV. Most national TV games in franchise history. Most national TV games for a single team in WNBA. All 44 games will be made available.
But Clark didn't just come back healthy. She came back to a roster that's actually built to play around her in a way that makes her harder to stop. Aaliyah Boston posting up in the paint pulls defenders away from the perimeter and gives Clark clean driving lanes. Kelsey Mitchell shooting off screens forces defenses to chase two threats at once instead of loading up on Clark. Lexi Hull takes the other team's best perimeter player every single night, so Clark doesn't have to burn energy on the defensive end. Sophie Cunningham brings physical toughness off the bench and keeps possessions alive when things break down. So every time Clark pushes pace in transition or pulls up from 30 feet, there are real players around her making the defense pay, and that makes the whole offense harder to game plan against.
In a way, it was a little bit of a mental break, but at the same time, injury is really mentally taxing as well. Like, people don't always realize that, especially when you're at the point of trying to come back and trying to get over the hump of like trusting your body. That's the hardest part, is like you've done everything you can, you know, rehab wise and to get back on the court. And then it's like the mental block of trusting your body and knowing you put the work in. So I feel like it's a little more mentally exhausting from that standpoint.
Advertisers don't buy games, they buy audiences. And Clark's audience skews exactly where sponsors want to spend money. So the broadcast math was never really about Indiana's win-loss record or how far they'd go in the playoffs. It was about the certainty that Clark on a screen means people watch. That certainty alone is now worth all 44 games, which is a number no team in this league has ever hit before. Picture this. not one Fever game this season stays local. Every road game in Seattle, in Phoenix, in Chicago, every back-to-back in late July when teams are exhausted and the matchups aren't glamorous, every Tuesday night in August that would normally disappear into the schedule without anyone noticing, all of it gets national treatment. That's the same level of coverage a playoff game gets on ABC, applied to the full regular season of one team.
Everybody's getting paid more money. They got to figure out how they going to make some of this money back and all of that. And one way you can guarantee make a profit with these networks and turn over $1 is by putting Caitlin Clark in front of the camera on national TV as much as possible.
The international piece matters too, because Clark's fan base doesn't stop at the US border. Peacock and Prime Video carry streaming rights that make her games accessible in a way that pushes the total value of the rights package well beyond what any domestic-only deal could justify. That's a real part of why so many partners jumped in. So when you look at the top 5 most televised teams in 2026 and see the Fever sitting at 44 while the next closest team sits 8 games back, that's not a quirk in the scheduling software. Networks reorganized their entire women's basketball strategy around one player returning to full health, and they were right to do it. Let's actually go through the top 5 and see exactly where everybody else landed and why Angel Reese is throwing a major tantrum.
The takeover, the Caitlin Clark takeover is rocking and rolling.
Dallas has Paige Buchers and now Azzi Fudd right next to her as the #1 overall pick, and they still couldn't catch Indiana. So picture how far down the list you have to slide before you're not even in the top 5. Yes, I'm looking at you, Angel Reese. Let's talk about the actual numbers. Indiana sits at 44 nationally televised games. Dallas Wings come in at 36, which is genuinely exciting because Buchers and Fudd together is entertaining basketball, and networks clearly agree. New York Liberty land at 35 with their super team built around Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. The Las Vegas Aces check in at 33. And keep in mind these are the defending champions with Asia Wilson, who just won MVP, running their offense. Los Angeles Sparks round out the top 5 at 31. Every single one of those teams plays in a real arena, in a major market or a venue that can pack in thousands of fans and generate the kind of crowd noise that makes a broadcast feel like an event worth watching.
You look around the league, Indiana Fever, the most with 44, Wings 36, Liberty 35, Aces 33, Sparks 31. That seems pretty fair to me. In terms of interest, you got the Fever, okay, CC 22, say no more. You got the Wings, Paige Buchers, okay. Liberty 35, I think the Liberty has a bigger national audience than the Dallas Wings. I'd be willing to put a hefty sum of money on that. Liberty definitely have a bigger national audience than the Dallas Wings. You have the Aces with 33, the Sparks with 31.
Atlanta Dream, 28 games. Not in the top 5. Angel Reese has spent 2 years telling anyone with a microphone that she's the reason people tune into women's basketball. So either she's been wrong this whole time, or every network in the country somehow missed the memo simultaneously. And networks don't miss memos when there's money on the table. Here's where it gets interesting with the arena situation, because it makes the 28-game number look even worse in context. The Dream play their home games at a facility in College Park, Georgia that seats around 3,500 people. That's not a typo. The Aces play at Michelob Ultra Arena. The Liberty are in Brooklyn. The Fever pack Gainbridge Fieldhouse. When a network sells advertising against a live game, part of what they're selling is atmosphere, the noise of a packed building, the feeling that something real is happening, and a 3,500-seat gym in suburban Atlanta physically cannot manufacture that no matter how loud the crowd gets.
They gave the league a lot of money. You know damn well they're going to want their fair share of Caitlin Clark. They gave the league a lot of money. You know damn well they're going to want a fair share of CC22. Oh yeah, we got to get that back. We got to recoup that from last year.
Advertiser rates on sports broadcasts tie partly to the perceived prestige of what's on screen, and a half-filled college gym sends a very specific signal to media buyers that a sold-out NBA arena doesn't. That signal affects how aggressively networks bid for those games, which is why the Dream landed at 28 while everyone else in the top 5 was playing in buildings that look and sound like legitimate sporting events on television.
Make no mistake about that. This is a business decision. We don't got time for all of y'all to be acting butthurt.
The Dallas and Indiana comparison is actually worth sitting with for a second. Dallas and Indianapolis aren't New York, Las Vegas, or Los Angeles in terms of media market size. Yet Clark and Buchers have star power that travels past the local market, and networks will pay for it. And that's why Indiana sits at the top with 44 games. Star power that people outside the home city actually care about is what drives these numbers, and Reese just doesn't move that needle the way she thinks she does. A'ja Wilson won MVP, and the Aces are defending champions, and they're still 11 games behind Indiana. The Liberty built a super team, and they're 9 back. So the gap between Clark and the rest of the league isn't just about wins or roster quality, it's a separate category entirely sitting on top of all of that.
You don't get told no. Like, you're going to get the yeses. You're going to get more yeses than nos, and just being able to know that. So I'm excited for that. I know that's going to come soon.
So the Dream are at 28 nationally televised games, playing in a 3,500-seat gym, in a market that doesn't carry the weight of New York or Vegas, on a team that hasn't established what it is yet. And the player who claims she drives viewership has 2 full seasons of evidence that says otherwise, and is now known as the most toxic player to ever enter a locker room. Despite all this, Reese doesn't seem to get the point. 23 wins and 61 losses across 2 full seasons, 0 playoff appearances, and through all of it, Reese kept telling everyone she was the most important player on that team. That's the Chicago Sky record with Angel Reese on the roster, and the numbers don't need much commentary.
Since they drafted Angel Reese, all of a sudden, the Bravado struggled to win games. And ESPN expects me to believe that the organization is the problem here? Either way, I don't think basketball had anything to do with why Angel Reese was traded. I think Angel Reese was traded because the Bravado thought that she was more trouble than she's worth.
The rebounding was real, to be fair. Reese grabbed boards at a rate that put her in all-star conversations and gave her a real statistical argument for her own value. But there's a specific problem with how that number gets inflated, because when you're missing layups at a high rate and then corralling your own offensive rebound, you're basically counting the same possession twice while your team is still down 12 in the 4th quarter. The board total looks good in the box score and changes nothing about the outcome of the game. Year 2 was supposed to be better. That's how player development normally works. Young player learns the system, builds chemistry with teammates, figures out how to win close games, team improves. Chicago went backward instead. The front office watched that trajectory for long enough and eventually decided it wasn't going to fix itself with the current setup, so they moved her.
Reese's contributions are all about making Reese look better on the stat sheet, not making her teammates better. Having 2 first-round draft picks for the next 2 years, however, a franchise can go ahead and create a formidable starting squad if you play your cards right. But even more of a benefit is the fact that, according to some reports, Sky players are thrilled that Reese is gone, making it pretty obvious she was viewed as a locker room cancer.
What made the whole situation genuinely ugly wasn't just the losing, though. It was what was reportedly going on inside the locker room. People close to the organization eventually confirmed that Reese's departure brought significant relief, with one insider saying that everyone was happy they didn't have to deal with her various controversies anymore, and that teammates were getting sick of her. That same source called her a locker room cancer whose trade was necessary for the organization's health. That's not an anonymous internet comment. Those are people who worked alongside her every day deciding the situation wasn't worth protecting anymore. The public clash with Courtney Vanderloot during the 2025 season was the part everyone saw, but it wasn't a one-time thing. Vanderloot tore her ACL, and while she was injured, Reese publicly stated the team couldn't rely on her because of her age, and implied they needed to move toward younger players. Vanderloot is a 2-time WNBA champion who had to respond publicly to comments made about her while she was sitting out injured. When a veteran with that resume ends up defending herself to the press because of something a younger teammate said, The private conversations inside that building had already broken down completely.
We can't rely on Courtney to come back at that age that she's at, Reese said. I know she'll be a great asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, somebody who's been playing the game and is willing to compete for a championship and has done it before. Courtney Vandersloot, by the way, 2-time WNBA champion, 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-WNBA first team, left the New York Liberty, a championship caliber team, to come help out the Chicago. Oh, damn. Oh, damn, oh, damn, oh, damn.
A conduct suspension on top of all that put the front office in an impossible spot, because you can't discipline a player you've built your marketing around without it getting messy. And it got messy. So the Sky traded her. And then something interesting happened. Skylar Diggins signed with Chicago. Azura Stevens came in. Dejounte Carrington, one of the better perimeter defenders in the league, joined the team. Rickea Jackson got traded there, and the Sky immediately gave Jackson Reese's number 5 jersey without any ceremony, no retirement talk, no acknowledgement of the previous era. Sources called it a very clean way of saying the Reese era is completely over, especially since Jackson wore number 5 in high school and college, so the move wasn't accidental. Every player who came to Chicago after the trade is either an all-star or an all-defensive caliber player, and they all committed within weeks of Reese leaving.
You know, the dynasty starts after you, not with you. Chicago Sky to Angel Reese. Woo-wee! I told you that AR disease ran deep. Nobody wanted to play with that. That is wild.
Before the trade, the narrative around Chicago was that nobody wanted to play there. That narrative collapsed immediately, which tells you something pretty direct about what players around the league thought the actual problem was. Angel Reese walked into her Atlanta Dream introductory press conference as a new teammate, and the players already on that roster were asked about playing with her, and what they said out loud was not exactly a welcome party.
Question actually for everyone but Angel. How would you guys, no offense, how would you guys describe what it was like playing against her the last 2 years?
I mean, anytime Angel's been on the other side of the court, I think I've had about 30.
Ryan Howard went first. Howard's the Dream's best perimeter player, and when someone asked her about lining up alongside Reese, she smiled and said, anytime Angel's been on the other side of the court, she thought she had 30 points. Read that again slowly. Howard didn't say she was excited to play with Reese, or that having her on the same team changes the dynamic in a good way. She told you directly that guarding Reese was basically a free 30 every single time they matched up. That Reese's defense was so poor, Howard circled those games on the calendar and just went to work. Naz Hillman didn't bother softening it at all. Her exact words were, Angel's annoying as hell.
Angel's annoying as hell.
That's a teammate, sitting at the same press conference table before a single game gets played together, describing the person she's supposed to build chemistry with in those words. You don't say that about someone you're genuinely glad to have around. Alicia Gray took the same angle as Howard, but phrased it differently, saying she loved playing against Chicago because that's when she had her best games. So Gray spent 2 years putting up big numbers against Reese's team, knew Chicago was going to be a good night whenever it showed up on the schedule, and now has to figure out how to play alongside the person who was handing her those performances. That's a weird locker room situation before training camp even opens.
I text Angel, and I was like, I ain't gonna lie, last year, I love playing against Chicago because I had my best games.
What's worth paying attention to is that none of these were trick questions or leading setups designed to produce negative answers. These were normal press conference questions about team chemistry and what it's like playing together, and all 3 Dream players independently worked in the fact that Reese was more fun to play against than to play with. 3 separate people, 3 separate answers, all pointing in the same direction. That's not a coincidence. The Dream's front office traded 2 future first-round picks to get Reese, so they're locked in whether the chemistry works or not. But the players around her aren't pretending they don't have opinions, and those opinions are sitting right on the surface.
So the Atlanta Dream teammates basically said, we were able to do anything we wanted at absolute will. We became Jedis on the court against the Chicago Sky. We just thought about cooking their ass. Shit started roasting on the court. We started cooking ribs and chicken right there on the court.
And then there's this. When Reese found out about the Fever's 44-game national broadcast sweep, she reportedly reacted with fury and said, "This is not fair. Not, I need to work harder," or "that motivates me." Her immediate response to a broadcast schedule was that it's unfair to her personally. Networks don't schedule games to hurt anyone's feelings. They follow ratings data and ad revenue and put cameras where people are already watching. And Reese processed that market reality as a personal attack. That exact mindset, the one that turns external circumstances into personal grievances instead of challenges to answer on the court, is the same mindset her Chicago teammates kept describing when they talked about what made that locker room so difficult. So picture what Atlanta looks like right now before tip-off on opening night. New teammates who called her annoying and told the press she couldn't guard them. A home building that holds 3,500 people. 28 nationally televised games while Indiana has 44. And a player whose first reaction to hearing Caitlin Clark's name attached to a record was to complain it wasn't fair. The Indiana Fever, meanwhile, are running through training camp with a full roster, all 44 games locked in, and Clark healthy. Caitlin Clark comes back healthy with Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Sophie Cunningham around her, and every single one of Indiana's 44 games on national television. Angel Reese is in a 3,500-seat gym in College Park with teammates who called her annoying before training camp even opened, 28 nationally televised games, and a Chicago rebuild that attracted Skylar Diggins, Dejounte Carrington, Azura Stevens, and Rickea Jackson within weeks of her leaving. The face of the league debate doesn't live in anyone's opinion anymore. The broadcast schedule already answered it, 44-28. Let me know down in the comments below if you think Reese is delusional. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.